Basically, I started in the trade in 1978, straight out of high school. Went into an apprenticeship program, was a journeyman stripper after a couple of years. Pretty much stayed at one company for the first 8 years. They really weren't growing in the direction that I wanted them to go, so I moved into another company. Got in on the ground floor, basically, of electronic pre-press. We're talking, Cytex Response, Cytex Prisma, Cytex Prismax. So I really cut my teeth basically on, at those days, what was considered the high-end systems, which were really the only systems at the time. So I had several years in with Cytex. I left. I originally grew up in the state of Iowa. That's where I learned my trade. Moved up here in, I think, 89, and worked for several companies in Wisconsin. Again, basically every flavor of system that's out there. I've used Barco, I've used Context, Concepts. Basically, there's not a lot of systems out there I haven't touched. Held Da Vinci, held Chromacom before Da Vinci. So a very, pretty rounded background in high-end systems. And basically, I was hired in 99 to come into this company who had very rudimentary electronic pre-press capabilities, and basically bring them into the 21st century, and examined several different workflows out there, and finally settled on Rampage, and that's where my relationship with Rampage began. It was in 99.
And next up, if you could, a little bit of background about the Marek Group and just basic stuff. What's in the press room, head count, vertical market specialties? I mean, what's your your elevator speech on the Marek Group?
Yeah, well, we're about a $30 million company. We have 4 40-inch presses, 2 6-colors with inline coaters, 1 2-color perfector, 1 1-color. We've got a quarter-size 6-color plus coater, also Heidelberg. See, we've got some cylinder presses we do die cutting on, Bops, Bruno, die cutters, basically fulfillment in one of our other buildings. We do warehouse management for companies, all in-house mailing, variable data. There's really not much in the printing world that we don't touch internally at this point. Web to print, we have a big presence in web to print. That's pretty much where we're at right now.
And it's a lot of direct mail, right, Lance?
A lot of direct mail. I think we're up to 5 or 6 million pieces a month right now.
Okay. And any verticals? Weren't you? Wasn't political kind of one of your?
We are. Yeah, we're a union printer, and one of our big markets is political printing. It usually hits every 2 years, obviously with the election cycle, and we do printing for candidates from New York to Los Angeles. Basically, a campaign will be decided by whoever the political designer is. The files will be approved by the campaign. Usually in the afternoon, we have the files FTP'd to us, and basically we're on press that night, and then in the mailing department the next morning and out the door the following afternoon. So we usually turn political stuff within 48 hours from start to finish.
One of the questions I had asked you to think about, Lance, and was, you go to various conferences, or you're looking at some of the stuff on whattheythink.com, and the need for printers to in effect stop talking about printing and more talking about being a marketing service provider. And I think that you guys have done some of that. Can you just tell whether it's applicable?
In Wisconsin, I mean, you can't swing a dead cat and not hit another printing company. And everyone in this part of the country has 40-inch iron. Well, there's a law of diminishing returns that everyone's trying to price each other out of the market. So one thing that we found was if we offered more than printing, sometimes we didn't even offer printing. We offered managing their fulfillment. No printing involved whatsoever. But what we found is by doing that, it did open the door up slowly to the digital side of work for our iGens, our next presses, and it also opened up work on our big iron, on our 40-inch presses. So we actually started offering things that really, to be perfectly honest, weren't print related, and it was not the most profitable thing at the beginning, but it allowed us to get into some companies that really were locked into other printers and wouldn't look at anybody else. Now all of a sudden it's like, well, they're handling our fulfillment now, and we need this rush job printed and put into inventory. We'll just give it to them. And that's where we found our biggest benefit is opening up some of these markets. Was we went after stuff that really most printers don't go after.
One of your hot buttons regarding automation was ease of use, and
right.
how important that was, and I was hoping that you could elaborate on that.
Well, the ease of use, the beauty of the system is the fact that it's server-based. And all your guys now, I mean, all of my guys are fluent with the Mac. And the Rampage interface is really very simple to pick up and learn. It's basically drag and drop. You have pre-configured profiles that everyone can use as a base, just slight modifications based on the job. That's the biggest thing, and the advent of the JDF hot folders for me has just been a godsend as far as ease of use and using new technology. It's been great. I mean, it's the old adage of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I mean, that's really what it's all about for me, because I can bring somebody in and spend half a day with them in Rampage, and I mean, I've got them producing work that day. I know, coming from Context and Cytex and all these other environments, I mean, you'd go out to Massachusetts for 2 weeks, and then they'd come here for 2 weeks. I can't afford to train somebody for a month, and there's just no way. Like I said, I can get somebody that has some printing background and some Mac background. I can get them up and running in a day.
Lori and I have been harping on, or all of us here have been harping on getting people into JDF-based impositions. So if you can just kind of take us through your transition and any sort of benefits or bumps that you've had on doing so.
Well, I'll tell you the biggest benefit right now of JDF, and that's the fact if a page gets changed, the imposition goes offline. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody re-rip a single page in a 200-page book and then forget to re-rip the signature. And all of a sudden they get the press, and we have a bad imposition.
Right.
With JDF, it eliminates it. The minute you drop in that new page, your imposed file goes offline, and you have to re-queue it back up. So that's the number one selling point, is you never plot a out-of-date imposition file, ever. And that's just fantastic.
Got it. And that's one of the things that Lori will touch on when she shows it. And then you were early into version 12. I mean, the second we had it out, perhaps you were on top of it. If you want to share your experiences with that, you had mentioned to me PDF Fixer and the JDF hot folders earlier, so I'm assuming those two.
Yeah, PDF Fixer is a great one. It used to be we'd open these files up inside of Acrobat, and we would, use Acrobat's tools to try to fix as much as we could. Because let's face it, I mean, a lot of customers think they know how to make PDFs, and it comes out of Word or Publisher or God only knows what, and they're RGB and everything else. And we used to have to spend a lot of time to try to fix these PDFs. Now we've got a color profile set up inside of Rampage. If it's a Word file, you can say, inside your color editor that it's a Word file, or it should say it's an Office file, and the conversions are great. I mean, the color looks good. Sometimes you get bad color conversions if you try to do it in like pit stop. I've noticed we've had some issues with things getting a little flat looking, a little muddy. But with PDF Fixer now, we just take these customer files and we don't even screw with them. I mean, we've got a workflow that you throw the PDF into the PDF Fixer, boom, it's done, and away you go.
But can you quantify it at all?
I would say at least 50% of every PDF that was supplied by the customers had to be reworked.
So you were at 50%, and do you want to take a stab at what that is now?
Less than a couple percent easy. I mean, we don't hardly even open up PDFs anymore.
When we were doing the case study, you had mentioned that there's a division of labor within your operation.
Right. One thing we found out is that, I mean, if I've got an operator that's hung up on a job for an entire day, that's not helping me out. I mean, that's actually hurting me. So what I would much rather do is, if he's got the job prepped and he's just got a page that won't rip, for whatever reason, he can't figure it out. Basically, the standing orders in my department are, you drop that job, you bring it to me, and you go on to the next job. And their job basically is to pound pages. Same, I've got a dedicated imposition guy. That's all he does all day, is he just pounds and pounds and pounds impositions as far as writing JDFs, pre-writing JDFs for jobs. We're a very custom shop, so we can't just always pick up, an 8-pager on a 2335 or something like that. There's a lot of Dutch cuts, a lot of nesting along those lines. So he's got a lot of work to do there. But we try to practice division of labor, almost like the auto industry. It's an assembly line.
It's 2 shifts.
We're doing probably 90% of all the work on first shift right now, just because the work goes through so fast. We used to have a 3rd shift, but we just couldn't keep them busy.
Related to Rampage, #1 wish list item at this point?
Oh, I don't know. That one I hadn't really thought about, because at this point it's pretty much doing everything I want it to do.